Welcome back to the ongoing commentary track for C for Chaos, the quote web series, end quote, which was never intended to be a web series. Before I go into that, this is your producer, writer, director, JT McRoberts. Thanks for joining me again. Originally, this was supposed to be a 90-minute, crisp, supernatural slasher film. When the script became overly long, approaching almost 300 pages, I think the final page count was 285, which is a ridiculous length. The filming became overly long, and the final product was very long. I've said before in these commentary tracks that my intention was, if we put enough stuff in the can, if we got it in front of the camera and just filmed stuff, that when we got to the other side, hopefully we could whittle it all down and find the best bits of it and have something to put out there. So that's what we wound up with. As time went on, we found ourselves moving into other projects, and going back to finish the work on C for Chaos became a bit laborious, to the point where I don't know if it will ever be finished. We'll just have to wait and see, as editor S. Brent Bowers keeps putting these out periodically, see how far we get into it, because there are quite a few scenes and episodes to go. Now, this episode has a nice little cameo because it features the narrator, Martin Bowes of Attrition. You can find him at attrition.co.uk, making a cameo. He's supposed to be another member of the Collectors, here rendezvousing with the character of Jacob Johnson and arming him with holy water because they have determined there is a vampire loose in Andersonville. So, one of Jacob's fellow Collectors, here played by Martin, brings him a tool that he needs to confront said vampire. So that's something you only pick up the intention behind some of these scenes as you see what happens later on. Now, this scene I actually really enjoyed. Various scenes I kind of lament that I didn't shoot them as well as I could have, or that the video quality is poorer than it should be, but this scene I'm really happy with. One, it showcases some of my actual pencil artwork you can see there in the shot. And the performances were very strong in this scene. I thought both actors, Scott Thomas and Tony Rogers and of course Amy Lauder, all raised their game for this scene, and what was a very verbose and talkative scene, to just make it engaging. Now, if you know me in my personal life, or if you've ever listened to any of my vlogs on YouTube or the radio show MVP Mutant Radio, which you can find over at mvpmutantradio.blogspot.com, by the way, throwing that cheap plug. If you've listened to me enough, you'll recognize a bit of this rant that Scott goes on, because some of the things he says are things that I constantly find myself repeating, talking about the importance of finding new expressions of artwork instead of settling for what's come before. And Art's interview here mirrors some of my own experience talking to comic book studios such as Marvel and DC, where they pretty much just kind of brush aside anything original you try to show to them, and point you in the direction of whatever's hottest on the stands at the time. And they kind of tell you, well, do stuff like this, and maybe you can work for us. And they're not really very interested in anything original. And here Art talks about how audiences have become too accustomed to settling for the same thing over and over. Now, another thing I like about this scene is I populated this office, I decorated this office with actual independent comic books, so you won't see anything by Marvel or DC or anything like that. So all the close-ups are real indie comics that I picked up face-to-face from creators over the years that caught my eye, and I found them entertaining and engaging, and I just threw them in the scenes here to give them a little bit of exposure. Tony cracks me up here, especially with that line, "Who gives a fuck about karma?" But I'm notorious for laughing at my own writing from time to time. It's probably one of the qualities that people find most endearing about me, and by endearing, of course, I mean one of the many reasons they hate me, but so be it. Yeah, I'm glad to see these C for Chaos episodes come out, but in a lot of ways it doesn't serve for much more than just a means to archive our own work, so that the people that worked on it can see what they were involved in and at least look back and say, hey, well, we had that come out of it. There's so many technical issues, and which I can only take the blame for myself, because we were involved in the learning process as young filmmakers, just kind of out in the wild and the round on our own. There's so many technical issues that really hampers it, and posting something like this on YouTube is, in my opinion, literally casting pearls before swine, because YouTube audiences, for the most part, won't take the time to try to find anything of value in anything that's not like a Batman Arkham Asylum fan film, where if I just had characters running around as Batman, probably 1,000 people would line up and tell me how great it is. But since it's all new and they're challenged to accept it on so many different levels, they immediately focus on the negative, the whatever technical aspects or anything that they see that doesn't come up to their meet their standards. But so be it. These episodes are not for them. They're for the people that are going to, well, of course, beyond everybody that was involved in it, but for the people that are going to listen to it and take it to heart and recognize the journey that art is on here, played by Scott Thomas, where he talks about being dedicated to one's art, and really, instead of trying to throw 10,000 ideas of shit against the wall to see what sticks, he's working with one idea and refining it, making it better, trying to find something that he can put out into the world that is an expression of both his own inner truth and also a reflection of the world around him. So those are my pretentious thoughts on it. Anyway, like I said, this is a pretty big soapbox episode for me, so I'm really happy to see this one online. You can see there's some of my artwork again stuck on the board behind it, and we just stuck little notes on it, like they were making notes on an upcoming issue of something coming out from Pyramid Publishing there. And of course, Pyramid, classic Illuminati symbol. I tried to link into as much symbolism of modern conspiracies that I could. Not so much to link them in, but to kind of take advantage of the psychic weight that those things had to them. Also by showing the Goya painting of Saturn devouring his children, which there are a couple moments of reflexiveness in this episode where Goya eating his children is also symbolic of how modern audiences have no appreciation for art.